How's your factory sub in your vehicle looking these days? Is it seeing better days, or is it possibly on its way out? Well, stick with me. I got some really great ideas to share with you on this
If
topic.
you're watching this video, I'm going to safely assume that your factory sub is either A, not meeting your demands and you're looking for more bass than what you currently have to work with, or B, it just is on the fritz and the speaker is either dry rotted, the surround has just completely disappeared, basically, because that happens. Because what happens is factory subwoofers are typically constructed out of anything other than what you're going to find, like something like this, which is an aftermarket speaker, which is going to give you better engineering, better quality, better specifications, generally overall a happier experience and better product. When you bought the car, you bought a car. You didn't buy a state-of-the-art speaker or a subwoofer. So it's not a big shock when the time comes when they need replacing. So when they do come a time and you need to do a replacement, you have to ask yourself some very, very important questions. And I have a little quick checklist that I want to share with you so that way you can first make a good, educated decision on what it is that you need to do now that you have committed to replacing your sub. Number one, what size do you need to replace your sub with? Now, in your factory owner's manual, the information is there. However, if it's not there, if you took possession of your vehicle secondhand, the information is also very much available either via the miracle of internet, or my opinion is go to a car audio forum, which say if you have a Jeep, with the center console 6.5-inch speaker, nobody is going to be short on information. People love to share, people love to talk. There's lots of blogs out there, people that talk and go crazy for every different kind of car you can ever imagine. So say if you have that Jeep and you have a center console and they say, well, we got a 6.5-inch speaker, factory calls for a 2 ohm load, that gives you everything you need to know so you can first discover what size you need to be targeting for your shopping, so you know where to start. Second thing is the impedance, which I touched on briefly. If it's a 4 ohm, if it's a 2 ohm, if it's an 8 ohm, it'll stand a 1 ohm load, and of course very important is the type of the enclosure that the speaker is currently in. Is it in an infinite baffle, meaning that it has infinite airspace around itself and it works on the free air? Is it a ported enclosure where it's tuned to a particular frequency, or is it a sealed enclosure? Is it a sealed with polyfill, so that way you're using the parameters of that plus the polyfill to make the speaker be tricked into thinking it's in a larger enclosure? So all these things, all these variables are all very important. You need to consider each and every one of these things. Educate yourself either by watching people like me, reading blogs, again, going on forums. The information is there, people. So whenever you do make a decision, it's my job to tell you, do it the right way the first time, because it's so much more painless to do it right the first time. Every 5 minutes you spend doing research is going to save you 5 hours in pain after the fact trying to redo it, which you should have done right the first time, hopefully. So this is what I'm here for. I like to share and give people the right information so that way they're somewhat on a right track. I can't tell you everything, but I can do a lot. So the first three things, size, impedance, and type of enclosure, very important. Of course, figuring out your size is in almost every manual, but say for instance you have a 6.5-inch, such as this one here is for the Jeep. I'm just going to use the Jeep as my example. I mean, your speaker could look something like this, or something like this. It really doesn't matter. What does matter is that you have what you have and you want to make the most of the replacement at hand. So here we go. So with respect of doing this replacement slash upgrade of your factory subwoofer, that's a very important thing. Some people don't want to get involved in doing custom high-end, doing bigger, better, kind of stuff. Me personally, I'm a custom guy. I want to put a 60-inch TV on a 59-inch wall. That's just the essence of me. That's what I do. If you're like that, I want to have some information to share with you about my thought process on going that route. Or B, if you're just a simpleton, you just want to pull it out because it's driving you crazy, you want to put something else back in that's functioning just slightly better, which is definitely my intention here is don't buy factory, don't settle, because what's going to happen is if you bought your vehicle 8 years ago and your sub just took a crap, and 8 years from now, if you even still own that vehicle, either the factory amp is going to take a crap because that's what happens, because Murphy's Law and Murphy's always got to get his piece, that'll happen. Or the speaker's going to do exactly what it just did from the last 8 years. It's going to take a crap again. So no speaker is going to last forever. However, it's going to do exactly a whole lot better if you just make a better choice. And it's usually less money and you get more for it when you go into the aftermarket realm. So again, for my Jeep, example, something like this, it's going to fit because it's going to have the correct dimensions, very shallow for slim mounting. It's heavy, it's got a good magnet structure, it's got a strong voice coil built into it, and this thing is not going to dry out and it's never going to turn into a potato chip. It's just not going to happen. So I can tell you for sure, something like this, in the aftermarket realm, you spend around 50, 60 bucks. In the factory, at a dealership, you're going to pay at least that, maybe even 50% more, and still get such a more inferior looking speaker. I mean, the speaker will probably look about like this, like a potato chip, when you could have something big and manly and strong like this. This is what you want. So if your speaker is, say, for this example, a 4-ohm speaker, okay? And your amplifier is 2-ohm stable, and you've learned that from information on the web, it would be wise for you to get a dual 4-ohm speaker, because at half the impedance you're going to get double the power. So maximize every watt that you can in your application, but don't overdo it. Say for instance, this woofer here says right here is a 1-ohm speaker, okay? If you have a 4-ohm stable factory amplifier and you put a 1-ohm load on it, that amplifier is going to get so smoking hot, like a 100-watt light bulb, and it's just going to destroy itself. So make sure you match your components appropriately. But of course, me being an aftermarket upgrading kind of thought process kind of person, here's my thought process. Go in there, take your factory sub amplifier, unplug it, use the audio signal it's sending out, add in some extra power cables, and get a bigger amplifier, and go with the lowest impedance speaker best suited for the application. So if you have a ported enclosure, the roof's the limit. You can go with unlimited size, which is basically whatever will fit is going to automatically just be awesome because it's in a tuned enclosure. If it's in a sealed enclosure, make sure that the speaker is going to show you on the spec sheets, because they're all information. Information is always there. You're dealing with a decent product such as this one here, it's going to give you all the specs, all the stuff that it'll tolerate in sealed enclosures, ported enclosures, infinite baffle, free air enclosures, all that kind of stuff. It's all here. It's all here. And these are the things you need to know and be armed with prior to doing your purchase, so that way you know you're going to get the best experience come when you turn the key on and listen to it. It should sound phenomenal. If anything less than that, then you didn't do your homework, and that's important. So make sure you do that. I always specifically like to try to get the lowest impedance, biggest, meanest subwoofer I can that's going to pack the most punch. I got cut off there. Now, like I was saying, once you're doing your upgrade and you have your new speaker all set, get yourself a nice little factory amplifier. It doesn't have to be gigantic, and take in consideration, again, the size of the old one. Now, of course, if you only have one amplifier, it's not very hard of a stretch to incorporate a small sub-amp. Something like this is tiny. It's maybe about 12 inches by 7. I mean, this thing could fit literally anywhere. As long as it's got airspace to cool itself, it's good to go. Now, utilize the line level audio input on your amplifier, and once you have something like that, you can always incorporate other neat little goodies like this. Whether the amplifier has a dedicated sub-volume control, or you're going to have a universal RCA, you can get something like this for around 10 bucks or whatever, and have this up front so you can have a dedicated subwoofer control, more power, better subwoofer, real warranty, and most likely not for a whole lot more money, just a little bit more time. I mean, this is your own vehicle, so the work shouldn't be work. It should just be fun time. So that's really all there is to it, people. If you're going to do a factory sub and it's a negative situation, it's driving you crazy, this thing can turn around into be an absolute blessing, and you can love this vehicle more than you ever have by doing some simple, very easy, in my opinion, well worth it work to be done with an amplifier, a little sub, a couple of little gadgets and little toys that you can put in there to make your life so much more fun and enjoyable in your vehicle. So that's it. This topic is done.